Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you can hear me. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. And you'll bear with me, as I'm sure you can hear that I'm under the weather. My voice is not okay, but we'll try. We have to soldier on, and we've got to do this. Welcome to our leadership conversation. We have our powerful speaker tonight. I will be introducing her shortly. I would like to welcome our regulars and our members. We are with these men and women every Wednesday as we sharpen each other, as we learn from one another, as we empower each other, as we inspire each other. I always say that the people who attend here and who come here, 90% is our past speakers and our past panelists, people who keep on coming back because they realize that this platform has a lot to offer to leaders. And that is why every Wednesday, these men and women will always make sure that we are here together. So thank you so much for coming here. Because of time, I will not be able to mention you by names, but I can see you and I appreciate and value for your insights and for your wisdom that we get from you every Wednesday. A special welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. Thank you so much for availing yourself and for joining us. I want to assure you that you are going to enjoy this conversation, and I would like to plead with you and request you to please participate fully. Don't be diffident, don't be shy, don't hold back. Don't say it's your first time, you want to hear from other people. Yes, it's good to hear from others, but also we'd like to learn from you. So we are more than happy to participate and express yourself. You can do that by raising your hands or via a chat room. So we'll allow our speaker to address us. And after that, we'll enter into the conversation where we will engage her and we'll engage each other. This platform is attended by academics and scholars from different universities. I can see already many different doctors and professors here who are here that are still coming, will be joining us, as I'm saying, from different universities locally and abroad. And we appreciate their insights. And this platform is attended by politicians from all walks of life, different political organizations who come and drink from the well of wisdom from different scholars, from different speakers. And also we've got executives from public sector, government, and other public, public sectors, organizations, also from private sectors, from corporate, from different organizations, from board members to executives, CEOs, senior managers and leaders, and from professionals from all walks of life, from religious leaders, community leaders. Anyone who's a leader is welcome, and anyone who's a leader, this platform is your home, because indeed, as I'm saying, you will see yourself that you will learn a lot coming here, and that is why we always come here, because we believe and we always say that the leadership, it's a journey. Leadership, it's not a destination. So I always say that as long as you're a leader, as long as you raise that hand and say yes or said yes when they appointed you as a leader, you must know that your obligation is to empower and develop yourself until you go to the grave. Because you stop developing yourself, you'll become obsolete. Never as a leader, you think you've arrived. Never as a leader, you think that now you've arrived, you don't need to empower yourself or develop yourself anymore. That is why we come here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. We host different powerful speakers with powerful and participants. So tonight we are discussing the most important topic, leadership excellence as a transformation imperative. And we are having my sister, very busy person. We've been knocking at her door. We've been trying to invite her, but the schedule never allowed her. But I'm so happy that tonight she has availed herself in the midst of her busy schedule. My sister, Linda Maqoma, I'm going to introduce her now, and she will take over and address us. As I've said, that as she speaks, we listen attentively so that we'll be able to engage her after, or rather once she has spoken. Linda, let me just, she's got a very long CV, as you'll expect, but we'll try and shorten it as much as we can. So Linda Maqoma is the founder and chief executive at Noma Chawe Group, and she's a national president of ABASA. ABASA is the, excuse me, so many of you know ABASA. ABASA is the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants of Southern Africa. She holds a BCom accounting degree and postgraduate diploma in accounting from the University of Fort Hare. I'm sure Dr. Sipe Potelo will be very happy that here's someone from Fort Hare. Excuse me. Obviously, I know that Professor Nduna is from Fort Hare as well. So yeah, so she's a graduate from that good university, that powerful university, Fort Hare. She completed a South African Institute of Chartered Accountants accredited articles at KPMG in Johannesburg, where she stayed on as an audit manager in financial services. 11 years of experience in the audit space, with experience in both the public and private sector. She is the candidate fellow of the 4th class of the Young African Leadership Initiative in South Africa, an extension of the Aspen Global Leadership Network Fellowship. As I've said, that currently leadership position, she's the national president and the board and national council chairman of ABASA. She has also been the national chairperson of women, or she's still the national chairperson of women of ABASA. Previously, she was an ABASA national head of transformation and communication. And also she was the ABASA Johannesburg branch deputy secretary general, and also ABASA Eastern Cape treasurer general. She's a member of the Black Business Council, BBC, and also National Council and Women's Alliance, also Black Management Forum, BMF, and Black Business Women's Alliance, BBWA, Steering Committee. She's the independent non-executive director of the Young African Entrepreneurial Institute, providing advisory over the finance and fundraising portfolio. She's also the Deputy Chairperson of the South African Institute of Government Auditors, SAIGA, Africa and Global Committee. That is Linda Maqoma, ladies and gentlemen. Linda, my sister, thank you so much for availing yourself. I know you are the most busy person, but thank you so much for your humility. Here are the scholars, here are the leaders. Please engage them. We are waiting to hear from you, and obviously we'll engage you and each other once we have spoken. You can take over now and address us. Over to you, Linda. Thanks very much, my sister. Over to you.
Thank you, Prof. I hope I'm audible. I just want to make sure I'm connected directly to my internet so that there is no interruption as we engage. So if you give me 2 seconds, just to make sure. Prof, you're making me feel bad saying that you've been trying to find me and trying to find me. There was one gentleman and I was like, I'd love to come, but then this week is a bit busy, but we can try another week. So Prof, I'm really excited that I'm here. Thank you for this invitation to speak to your circle. And when I assess, especially as you talk about who comes here and the scholars and the caliber of people that are here, these would be elders to me, and therefore I want to humbly greet you all and all protocol observed. I know there's some young lions that are in the audience as well tonight, people that are also coming from ABASA. Very wonderful to have you here, and I really hope that you find something in this short address that will inspire you in your leadership journey. As a Prof has introduced already, my name is Linda Maqoma. I was born and raised in Fort Beaufort in the Eastern Cape, Emachaweni, or Omdange, or Chiwo. I'm extremely proud of where I come from and who I am. I am a passionate advocate for the advancement of Black people, justice in all its forms, and leadership excellence. I'm a mother to an 11-year-old. She actually said I must particularly say 11-year-old and not 10-year-old because she's turning 11 in August, so I must be politically correct there. I founded Noma Chawe Group, which provides financial consulting services, development and leadership coaching, which is a manifestation of the love that I have for young people and women, and I believe that they hold the key to the doors that will have the solutions to what we so desperately need in our country and the world at large. I deliberately am not going to introduce myself as the president of ABASA. I think most of the people here would know that part. But let me at this point acknowledge the Association for the Advancement of Black Accountants of Southern Africa, which I have wholeheartedly and humbly served over the past 10 years since my days as a student leader at the University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. ABASA is one of the frontline Black advocacy organizations, which works alongside organizations such as the BMF and APSIP and the BBC in a quest to realize socioeconomic transformation in our country, with ABASA being the organization that focused on transformation within the accountancy profession since its establishment in 1985, producing exceptional leaders who are now captains of industry in our country. It is such a pleasure and absolute privilege to be given this platform to converse with you, Prof. And thank you so much. I must give credit though, Prof, to my past women presidents. Umamfutu Mtoba, the AG of South Africa, Tsakani Maluleke, Tsakani Thandoso Fubu, and Ukuku Ncube. They actually introduced me to your work. One of the most special gifts I received from these extraordinary women, besides their wise counsel, is they actually gifted me with the book, Leaders in Leadership, How to Survive and Strive in Times of Crisis and Uncertainty. I got that book when I was appointed as president. And as I read it, I really understood how important this particular book is, and why people like you do what you do every Wednesday. And I was like, how do I get into these circles? And today here I am. And that's why when you asked me if I would, it was without hesitation. It was just a matter of finding the time. So today's topic, I asked for a little time to pray about it. You remember, Prof. And I came with this, it was a resounding sort of message that was just ethical leadership excellence as a transformation imperative, right? So the work we do at ABASA is around transformation, but we need to ask ourselves, what type and caliber of leaders do we need to be to make these sorts of organizations and these advocacy groups actually be taken seriously, you know? And the turn really does start at the top. And in terms of how are we leading these organizations? How are they delivering what they need to deliver? So as I was praying about this topic, I was actually sitting in a Young African Leadership Initiative seminar. And the themes for the 4-day seminar were centered around human nature, really speaking to the composition and nature of the state and how it then translates into a government, which we now see, and the problems that are in that government. It talked about liberty under the notion of a social contract and a social compact. We see a lot of manifestos from our political parties that speak to a social compact, especially the ruling party. Also, another theme was efficiency, really looking at how the world works and drawing some themes from the communist sort of ideologies and Marxism. There was quite a bit of dialogue around the state, as you can imagine, and how it naturally forms and how it begins with the home and how we learn certain things from just the basics as we are born into a household and the man is the leader and the woman more of the, I guess, what is the word? There's a biblical word. I forget it. It's after 6, Prof. So the English is gone, but more servient, if you get what I mean. But those sorts of dynamics and having the different structures and protocol and how we address certain things. But that then evolves into a bigger group and a bigger home, which would be the state and the people. But the robust discussion was really around BEE and the implementation of that and how meaningful that has been and whether it's really served its purpose. And young people in the room were really quite gobsmacked at some of the drawings that are done by the facilitators around where this could have gone wrong. Anyway, that is a topic for another day. It's not the topic I want to unpack because it's just another animal, but it does lead me to what I want to talk about today. So in an article published just recently, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Enoch Gobongwane, was speaking at a Black Management Forum dinner at Maqoma in the Eastern Cape. And he blamed state capture and a lack of political will for the slow pace of transformation in our country since 2009, right? What is particularly interesting about this statement is it certainly acknowledges that something went terribly wrong in 2009. And it speaks squarely for me to the leadership timeline. And as we look at it, the years of Utadu Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, a highly respected global icon, succeeded by Utadu Thabo Mbeki, whose departure from the presidential seat, in my mind, is one of the saddest leadership moments in our country. The post-democratic efforts made to position our country to be an investor hub with a strong fiscus, a reputable and credible national treasury, came to its knees at a leadership excellence graciously leaving the stage and opening the floodgates to what would probably be remembered as a more charismatic leadership era in our country, very easygoing, following a more, what was said to be aloof and a cold leadership style. But that has cost us as a country financially through the capture of the state, through its procurement processes. But as can be seen in some of the interviews from the recent Zondo Commission, those charged with governance in our country have lost a sense of moral responsibility for the care of the rights and the needs of the majority of this country and the public interest. So Professor Wiseman Gufu writes about this sad moment in our country in his book entitled Enabler or Victim, KPMG versus State Capture, and how the deterioration of the behavior of even professionals can be attributed to the leadership tone in the highest office in our country. Which brings me to another comment later made by our finance minister last week, where he challenges Black professionals to reflect on why Black managers tend to be associated with failure or incompetence, right? And he further then says, if you look at the state of our local government, 6 out of 10 municipalities in our country are in financial distress, their governance is weak, and they lack professional and judicious management. They are largely municipalities led by Black managers under the Black political leadership. We must then have these difficult conversations and not shy away from them. This is what our minister says. So colleagues, as a professional, I'm not sure how I feel about that statement, but I feel it is mitigated by him including that Black political leadership also does play a role here and must reflect, right? And you see, what it implies is Black professionals are incompetent, and that is a notion that we must strongly guard against, especially in these circles. I remember a similar comment raised at a Black Business Council panel discussion where the Deputy Minister challenges ABASA and says, ABASA needs to be an organization that produces professionals who will not be the ones signing off unethical transactions within state institutions. My immediate response as a fellow panelist was to say, I feel we are ignoring the impact of political interference and on the ability of capable, ethical, passionate professionals and leaders to do their work with excellence that they are called by their organizations such as ABASA to drive. So we cannot just be shifting the blame to people who sign, but understand and appreciate that state capture has created an environment where leadership excellence cannot and will not exist because it fears for its life. We have seen ethical whistleblowers being gunned down. We have seen auditors doing the important work of the Auditor General being threatened for doing just their daily work in our municipalities. How much more the people whose livelihoods rely on them keeping their jobs in these same institutions under a government that leaves little room to do the right thing. So the challenge then becomes, where is the leadership excellence in our government and our politicians who interfere with the work of professionals, which renders those hardworking and capable individuals incompetent in the eyes of a democratic South Africa because their passion to serve their country places them in an environment that demands that they either behave or they leave. That, ladies and gentlemen, I think is where our country is right now. State organizations have failed, but not that they are not capable people to lead these organizations, but because for one or other political motive, leadership excellence becomes a foreign language, and the demise of organizations at the hands of Black managers creates a strong case against transformation in our country. We must therefore make a distinction between political deployment and professional appointment, with the former being the center of what I believe is the problem in our country, and we must find, and where we find ourselves today, and the latter being what we must strive for and protect with everything we've got if we want to see a brighter future for this country. Political will requires leadership will, and that leadership must do what it pledged to do for this country with excellence. And while this is a clarion call to the leadership at the very top in our country, it is a leadership call that must cascade down and be applicable to all leaders in both public and private sector, because all our actions contribute to how seriously the transformation agenda is taken in this country, and especially in corporate spaces. So what then do I mean by leadership excellence? Leadership for me is a commitment. It requires consistency. It requires a servant mindset, advocacy and love for one's people, and selfless and forward thinking. Excellence, over and above this leadership that I speak of, is all encompassing. It requires ethics. It requires a dedication to values. It requires discipline, integrity, and respect. These are just some of the things that transformatory leaders need to embody. And unfortunately, this is not something that a textbook is going to teach us. It comes with the circles such as these we choose to be part of, the mentors we aspire to, the books we read comprehensively and take time to engage on. And more times than not, it is a result of how we respond to our individual and unique lived experiences. It is therefore the likes of these platforms, which you have created, Prof, that must be the breeding ground for leaders who are going to unite and produce the force of Black excellence that will go into the various sectors in our country to correct the narrative and restore the legacy of the leadership excellence that has led this country into its democracy. In the words of Alexander the Great, I am not afraid of an army of lions led by sheep. I am afraid of sheep that are led by a lion. So lions must therefore rise and be given space and room to lead us into the future and closer to the promised land that our country is currently so far from. In closing, as I leave you to engage more, which is what I really enjoy, I want to leave you with the words that I take from Prof. Bonang Mohale's book, which is titled Behold the Turtle. It reads, all of the great leaders had one characteristic in common. It was the willingness to confront unequivocally the major anxiety of their people in their time. This, and not much else, is the essence of leadership. We must therefore, these are my words, unquote, these are my words, we must therefore confront the severe leadership deficit that our country finds itself in under a Black-led government. And we must seek and lift up a generation of conscious leaders that will restore the hopes and dreams of the majority of this country. Diabulela, Prof, that is where I'm going to leave it for now so that we can open up for the engagement. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you very much, Madam President. Thanks, my sister. Indeed, we'll be engaging with you now. Ladies and gentlemen, please do remember that we've got load shedding, so most of our people are load shedded, receiving some apologies. Others will be joining us late. Others will be joining and will be kicked out. So let's just bear with each other when that happens because of load shedding. But wow, what a powerful address there, Madam President. Thank you so much. Indeed, that is why we have this this platform, because that's exactly what we want as leaders: that commitment, that excellence, that accountability, that ethical and values-driven leadership. We here every Wednesday to correct each other, to even admonish each other as leaders. This is a safe space for leaders where we speak to each other. If there are any things that we are doing as wrong or right as leaders, we've got to talk about it so that we'll grow together. And thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the president has just addressed you, talking about leadership excellence as a transformation imperative. In other words, we'll never drive transformation in our country without competency, without excellence. If you want to transform this country as leaders, as managers, as executives, we ourselves, we've got to excel in whatever we are doing. Let's just engage each other now. It's just, and by the way, thank you so much for that advert of that book. We've got that powerful book that did.
It's not a paid partnership, Prof. But I love it.
Wow, it's a good book. It's a good book. This book emerged from this platform. Yeah, so many scholars and managers, others are here tonight who contributed different chapters in that book. Leaders in Leadership, it's available, ladies and gentlemen. You've got to pick up a copy. It's very important. You will really enjoy it. Forward by Professor Chilite Marwala, who's one of our members here. Whenever it's available, he attends here. So yeah, it's a very good book. We are actually busy with another book now. It will be launched soon. It's called Women in Leadership. Also different chapters contributed by powerful leaders also from this platform. So you will get it. Thank you so much. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes, the president has spoken. So let's just see if there are any. Okay, there's just a compliment, great presentation from Madam President. Any thoughts, ladies and gentlemen? I can see Dr. Sifuko Ramshoba, you are here tonight. You are one of the contributors of our two books, the one Leaders in Leadership and the Women in Leadership. Dr. Sifuko, excellence in leadership. And then we'll then take, I can see the hand there from Dr. Siphe Potelo. I see another hand from Dr. Chuma Mangisa in that order, please. But I know that Sifuka had not raised his hand, but I'll start with him and then we'll take Dr. Potelo and then Dr. Mangisa. My brother, Dr. Sifuka. Can you hear us? Are you connected, Dr. Sifuka Ramasho? We'll come back to you when you are able to talk. Let's go straight to Dr. Siphe Potelo, and then it'll be followed by Dr. Mangisa.
Good evening, Prof. I'm not sure if I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are. We can hear you.
You know, I should ask that before I address and compliment the Madam President, so that I cannot be taken out of University of Fort at the back door, because she is a stakeholder and one of the alumni with a huge potential power to take me out of the system. It's so informative, Prof, the presentation given by the president, with a good analysis in a political dispensation, of which I was attentively interested for her to reflect in the current leading organizational conferences. Because when we talk about this government, it's a government of political party deployees, with a huge of assassination that recently happened at PE, where provinces are hosting provincial conferences towards the National Congress in December. Yes, we are not analyzing politics, but we are putting excellence in leadership. But at the current point, our excellence is measured by the deployment, as mentioned by the president, to governance, in a suppression of the professional in governance. So I thought and interested, it's a point of comment and also a question, technical question to the president to say, what preferable method or what can professionals, what role professionals and these bodies can they play to influence the political deployment? Because even on that political deployment doesn't mean the professionals are not part of it, but there is a suppression of the leaders in excellence within the deployment. I'm interested on that note for her to give a brief of what cautious message the president is putting for us to be vigilant of these provincial conferences, because these provincials are the ones that compromise service delivery, are the ones that leading in municipality money administration. Because if we're not deploying the municipality managers, we advertised as professional body official, who will not perhaps be in a state of poor service delivery in the country. Let me stop there, Prof, for the benefit of all of us. Thank you, Madam President. Thank you very much. I'm just chipping in before the load change.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take also Dr. Chuma Mangisa, then we'll give Linda space to respond. Dr. Mangisa.
Yes, thank you very much, Prof. Majola, and thank you to you as well, Madam President. Thought-provoking address. Thank you very much. As regards to, you know, excellence in leadership or leadership excellence, I want to talk about the Auditor General as an institution. And it has been regarded highly so as one of the excellent, you know, institutions within the Republic. And of course, that is attributed, you know, to its current leaders and previous leadership. However, you know, I want you to comment on this excellence, because what they do right at the end, you know, they come up with reports, you know, qualified, unqualified, and disclaimers. Now I want to go to unqualified reports, you know, which therefore means some institutions are running pretty well and municipalities are doing pretty well because of the unqualified reports. Now I want to make an example of Cape Town, you know, that has, you know, consistently, you know, been given unqualified reports. However, the communities around Cape Town, you know, especially the Black townships, they are the poorest of the poor. Now, looking at that, and their model of saying, this is an excellent municipality vis-a-vis, you know, that which we found, you know, in townships around, you know, where those municipalities. Now, your take of excellence when you talk about Auditor General is their understanding or their modeling of excellence or measurement, therefore of excellence, talking to what is meant, what is supposed to be, because those townships there, the people there, they are still suffering even now. Even when these municipalities, Midvaal, Cape Town, they are still regarded as excellent municipalities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, President Maqoma.
Thank you, Prof. So the two questions are, if I summarize, how do we respond to the matter of the political deployment and making sure that the excellence is not suppressed in the process? Very good question, and one that actually was very well responded to in an interview, I think it was on Newsroom Africa, I'm not sure, but by Umonde, I forget, why do I forget his surname? But he's the head of advocacy and thought leadership for the BMF. And what he says is really what organizations like ABASA and BMF are meant to be doing. And
it's London Ndlovu, sorry.
Monden
Ndlovu, yeah. He's the
yes.
son of Lord Ndlovu.
Yes. So I love what he said, because he then articulates the relevance of organizations like the BMF and ABASA and your BBCs and your ABSAs. Because a lot of the things, if we were to go as individuals and go and try and go up against this political regime or whatever is happening there, yes, we are apolitical organizations, but we provide a mobilizing force and a representation and advocacy voice for our people. So we can hold government to account and push back and say, but how was this process done? I think the BBC has been quite loud around vacancies in certain spaces and watching how those vacancies are filled. But our organizations need to also capacitate themselves to be more vigilant and deliberate in pushing back. So we shouldn't be, I mean, I come from an organization where a lot of what you saw from an ABASA would be events and big conventions, and we talk a lot, but there is a bigger role, and that is what I want to see in my presidency, to say we have an advocacy role to represent our people. In Parliament, you must have a voice in terms of the things that speak to how we address certain matters as we see them arise. ABASA needs to be there and have a seat. And that is really, I think, what we should be doing, because we can't expect Elinda in her personal capacity to go up against politicians, because I'm not going to win. But we need to use these organizations that have credibility and have done it before to go back and drive that excellence that we've always harped on about, Black excellence. We need to bring it back. And we need to also call each other out as Black organizations. And that's a reality, that some of us get comfortable in our seats and our affiliation with the politicians, that we forget the real work of our organizations. So that's a big challenge, that in as much as we are holding government to account in terms of how they do people and how they deploy and how they protect our professionals do the right thing, we must call each other out as organizations, that we do not relax and become complacent, because then the work then doesn't get done in terms of dealing with the difficult issues. I hope that answers the question, Dada. The second one, in terms of the Auditor General and qualified reports and what they mean and how we can be okay with this excellence that is described in a unqualified report when we are seeing some of the happenings in municipalities for our township areas, for instance. So I'm not going to speak on behalf of the AG here. My head of public sector is here, Sisonke, who's from the AG. But I think the safe thing to say here, Dada, is that there is more to an audit report than just an unqualified or the figures, right? And the Auditor General does look at the non-financial as well. And I think it is a good point to raise to say, okay, when you look at our municipalities and we look at the way we've audited what they've done and the impact in their communities, have we not missed anything? The other thing with auditing, and maybe that's something that we need to push back on, or something that we need to make sure that once we've audited, we're also going back to raise awareness around some of the social ills, is that some things may be seen as not material in the bigger sense of that report. So you're quite right in that perhaps we need to be doing something or a model that says, while we have got the books right and the numbers right, and maybe the targets in terms of what that money was supposed to do right, that we do have further engagements with the communities to then say, is there nothing that we're missing? So that even when we go back and start auditing them, the Chapter 9 institutions have a framework that is redefined that does not miss the things that you are calling out now and seeing while these municipalities are getting these clean reports. So I don't want to say, I'm not sure which particular municipalities those would be, and maybe there are issues in those municipalities, but we don't see them because they're not the frontline ones. But yes, Western Cape generally does do quite well in terms of the reports. But if we are then questioning in terms of the dispensation of our people in those spaces, then we must push back. And we must make sure that our excellence is, or our description of excellence within spaces which are predominantly white, do not leave behind the issues that are felt by Black people in our townships and so forth in those regions. So you do raise a point. I do not have a definite answer, but I think AG is doing a lot of work to really get in touch with the people on the ground. And that's an opportunity for us to also inform how our municipalities are audited, because we can see that, no man, something is missing here. But the challenge with our people as well is that when we are given the opportunity to give our input, we don't get around the table and give that input and come in our numbers and say, no man, something is wrong here, and this is what we need to change. It's much like just recently, the triple PFA was out, and we always talk about the preferential procurement. But when it comes to a bill that we must contribute to and say if we're happy with these things or what we change, commentary from us doesn't come. And that's what you saw as we sat with the Black Business Council, that even Black organizations are not contributing to the commentary to make sure that this bill represents our people. So while we are saying, AG, is it enough to give these people an unqualified report? When the AG does come to the people and say, dear people, what can we do to improve the way we audit to make sure it also has a framework that includes your needs? We must be there to contribute and give that support. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, President. Sisonke, would you like to express yourself? I think you've written something there in the chat room. I can give you this time maybe just to express yourself. After Sisonke, then I see a hand there from Dr. Pat Mazibugo. So Dr. Mazibugo will come after Sisonke. Sisonke, over to you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Oh. Thank you so much, Prof. I was trying to move away from my background. Prof, let me acknowledge you and especially acknowledge my president. Prof, I was just saying, Madam President, as well as to everyone who's here, should we maybe have another conversation where us as professionals should be walking into political spaces and not have the narrative that says that it's for us, it's for them and not for us. Because the truth is the decisions that we might not agree with, sometimes taken by the politicians, do affect us. Should we not have a conversation that says as professionals, we should not be afraid of walking into the political space? I mean, of course, it comes with a huge risk, Prof, of being, being associated with criminal activities, corruption. The list is endless. But should we not have a future whereby the political arena is governed or led by people of ethical conduct? Yes, I agree, it's not always 100%, but it does increases the likelihood of getting a quality, complete leadership that will, provide what we would call or define leadership excellence. Just thoughts around that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sisonke. Thank you very much, my sister. Powerful, but the madam will respond to that. Dr. Mazubogo, yes, my brother.
Thank you so much, Prof, and a very good afternoon, colleagues. And humble greetings to Madam President. Thank you so much. You were totally succinct, straight to the point. Madam President, I've got 3 points that I would like you to lead us on. The first one, at some stage you spoke about lack of moral accountability. The question that I have is that what early investment can we embark on to instill that moral accountability as an example, at a basic level? Because I think it's a little bit unfair to expect that somebody is fully entrenched from a moral point of view when they are probably at a very advanced stage of their life. So I think as leadership, we need to take a conscious decision and make those early investments. The second point basically aligns to what Sisonke has said. So the question is, why is leadership not being able to stand the test of time within a political space? And we've seen that they are totally engulfed. It would seem that when they get there, integrity goes out of the window. Maybe it's a question of lack of courage. Then, of course, my very last question, then, Prof, and my Madam President, is how do we make Black excellency a way of life? Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you, Dr. Mazubogo. Yeah, over to you, Madam President. Over to you.
So thank you, Prof, and thank you for the questions. So I'm going to merge responding to Sisonke's question with the question that is on the chat around, is the reluctance in participation not a function of the rot in the governing space? And then also leading to your question, Dr. Mazubogo. Walking into that space, I don't think we are lacking people that are willing to do that. But the conversation always comes out in that, where is the support? Are we coming in our numbers and this critical mass of individuals? And are we creating a breeding ground? And this is what I was saying in my address, Prof, that spaces like these produce leaders or give that, just that support to say, I'm actually not crazy. For me to demand this of my country and my government is something I'm entitled to. And you are then linked with like-minded people that want to see the same thing. But when it comes to going to the battlefield and to the battle line, we are one, it's one person, it's a Linda representing all these people. But are we willing to roll up our sleeves? And for me, it's a divide and conquer that is happening. And the more we allow it to happen, that we are split when we're going into that space, whether it has the rot, it doesn't have the rot, the more of us that we are producing that are going to there is a better chance of us actually moving the needle in the space. The reality of it, and it's what I've said in my address, that those that are brave enough with the courage, saying we are going to be part of investigating these things and give the responses that are going to get to the bottom of it, what happens to them? People lose their lives. We have children. I'm a single mother with a 10-year-old. And as I speak here, I run the risk that someone is listening and thinking, oh, this one is a problem. And my child could live without a mom as a result of my courage to stand up for this thing. So people now make that choice. And it's not that it's an immoral choice, but it's you thinking about, your livelihood and your children. But it then goes back, because I'm reminded of the speech of Nelson Mandela just around the Rivonia trial. And the last line is around whether this is a cause that you're willing to die for. And I think we've lost that as a people in terms of what is it that you're willing to stand up for and die for the sake of the future generations and the betterment of our societies. Then we were fighting for our liberation. And we are still questioning ourselves in terms of whether we have achieved this liberation in reality. And are we willing to roll up our sleeves and sacrifice our luxuries and our comforts for the betterment of everybody in our country? So that is the big question, ladies and gentlemen, in terms of, are professionals willing to walk into that space without fear of what might happen? That is a question that you must ask yourself as a professional. The other question, your Prof, there a lot. I don't know if there's the question about the early investment. I love that question, Dr. Mazwe, because we work, and one of my legacy projects is around young people. So from high school all the way to your students, they had the energy, they had the drive. A lot of the revolution in our country and the things that have really turned around was because young people stood up, you know. So we really need to invest in those people. But you find that when people arrive, we lose that, just like what you're saying. How do we create a pipeline and an intergenerational alignment that speaks both ways to say, elders are giving the wisdom, right? But young people are reminding the elders of where they came from and the struggles they went through. I went into an interview for the African Leaders Initiative. And I actually asked the viewers that question, and I said, what happens when you guys have arrived and you're fine and you're living well? It's as though you forget the struggle that we were going through as students and so forth. For me, the solution is not only investing in young people, but the intergenerational conversations that even remind older people as they arrive that you still have an obligation to look back and lift and understand that the influential position that you hold now has a huge responsibility, and you have the privilege to be there. It is not something that you are entitled to. You have a responsibility to the country, you have a responsibility to the generation that follows, that what we have fought for and what has been fought for continues, and we're carrying on this baton. So for me, intergenerational conversations, ensuring that young people are mentored, but ensuring that we are listening to young people as well, because they're a reminder of where we come from. Thank you, Prof. I don't know if I missed another question, but I'm happy for people to remind me.
Yeah, no, thanks, Madam President. No, it's true. And I'd like to go back to my brother there, Dr. Mazwe Majola is one of the senior executives at Telkom, and Black excellence, Dr. Mazwe Majola, your thoughts, how do we cultivate world-class Black excellence leaders, whether it's from corporate or even from other spheres of lives? The Doc, or your thoughts, Doc?
Thank you so much, Prof, and thank you so much, my fellow colleagues. I would say, first and foremost, you as senior leaders need to have an eye for talent. You need to be able to identify certain people. Let me just step back how we actually kill people, by the way. We are unable to differentiate between what we call corporate specialists and corporate leaders. Sometimes we take a person because they may probably talk well, and we push them in an environment where they're going to fail, because they are unable to take people into their confidence. So it's about you and I being able to identify people such that we can place them at different levels. Secondly, it is important to understand the issue of mentorship and coaching. You know, we basically do not invest a lot in mentorship and coaching. And again, when it comes to mentorship and coaching, Prof and my fellow colleagues, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So you need to be able to identify that individual and be able to say, what does he or she need? And also start giving him or her certain assignments and hold him accountable. And then that is coupled with them. You can do that in a number of ways. You take somebody under your wing and you start working with them. As they start to develop and you can see that they get to a particular point, you start demanding of them to say, look, hey, Pat, I need you to start mentoring other people at a very low level at this point in time, because that's the only time you can be able to see whether you are getting there. But drive discipline, you know, there's something else that people do, Prof. They look at a person like yourself, at a person like Usis Linda, and they aspire to be there, but they do not understand. Like Usis Linda did not tell you how much time has she spent to get her hands dirty. For you to be a credible executive at a senior executive level, you must have been able to get your hands dirty so that you can have enough understanding. But then the last issue, so that I don't take much of your time as part of my contribution. Remember, as a senior executive, creating executive excellence, it is not so much about what you say, it is so much about what you do that people observe and hear you. And that's when they start following you. Sorry, that's just my little contribution for today. Thank you, Prof.
Wow, thank you. Thanks, my
I love
brother.
that.
Thanks, Dr. Mazwe. Thanks, my brother. I see a hand there from Dr. Mangisa. I acknowledge you. I'll come back to you, Doc. I just want to ask my sister, I see my sister there, Miss Wezikoza, it's one of the top non-executive directors in many, many different organizations. She's also the chairperson of Chieta, the chemical industries. Siswezi, excellence, leadership excellence, my sister.
Thank you very much, Prof. I've got such a lot of things that are happening in my head, especially when I'm actually looking at Black excellence. What actually bothers me in many instances is for us to usually complain about what we see in Cape Town, in the Cape Town city. And my take is that once we focus on the wrong, that which we see in the running of the Cape Town city with respect to what is happening in the locations, we actually prop up other provinces and other cities who do absolutely nothing at all, because they will say that there are many wrongs from the unqualified reports of Cape Town City. But let's look at Northwest. And if we look at Northwest, we find that there is absolutely nothing that we can point at, let alone the mushrooming of squatter camps or of squatter camps in those areas. My take is that when we are pointing a finger at Midvaal or pointing a finger at the city of Cape Town, the people who are running these other cities, they actually get an opportunity to hide, and they hide behind us talking about those that are doing well, even if they are doing it in a skewed way, and they end up propagating their misdeeds. Like, for instance, we have got this cheese company that has moved, from Northwest to KZN, and it has moved because of poor service delivery. And we are not saying anything about that. And we have got lost employment in Northwest when they actually have got very few industries there, and it becomes worse and worse. I think our focus should be actually to address those areas where there is absolutely nothing happening, and actually we raise a point. Now, my other take is the observation which is happening with Operation Tutula. There are many wrongs that which Operation Tutula is doing, but there are also many rights that which they are doing. The voice that I'm hearing from Operation Tutula is that the government has let loose on some governance issues, like they've let loose on illegal immigrants. Not that there's no, what shall I call it? There's no sympathy to the reasons why we have got illegal immigrants, but they say the issue of illegal immigrants is eating on the budget that which is approved for services in South Africa. But then there is no budget that caters for the influx of illegal immigrants, which is the reason why we have got Operation Tutulas. My challenge would be, what if we, because we always ask questions, what can we do as professionals and as leaders? I think a form of what Operation Tutula is doing, to say that this is the right thing for us to do. not in the manner in which Operation Tutula is doing it, but we can modify it so that we show that there can be leadership that is doing the right things, as opposed to what we see being done in legitimate structures of our government. Now, if we do that, there can be a point where the right people in government can see that this is where we went wrong. The example is Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, who is now unraveling a lot of wrong things that are happening at Home Affairs, Department of Home Affairs. And now there is a lot of pushback from other politicians to say that, no, he's coming too fast and all of that, when he's actually doing the right things which have been complaining about. I'm not sure if, my talking too much may actually lead to, paralysis of what I would love to say. But basically, that is my point. There is a lot which I can say, which bothers me, but I think let's just proceed as leaders. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my sister, Siswezi. Thank you so much. There is another question in the chat room from KP Ndlovu. Ndlovu, KP Ndlovu, would you like to express yourself? Then we'll go back to Dr. Chuma Mangisa.
Good evening, Prof. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, my sister.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I think Linda did answer my question, which was basically to say, I think before we can tackle the problems that we have at the bottom, whether we like it or not, we need to deal with the governance, because which is basically your topic today. That as a function of what we've had in government, it has trickled down and seeped into all areas of society. So be it corporate, be it local government, be it society in general, it has moved into all those areas. So now how do we then cure that? The only way to cure it is difficult to move it from bottom up now, because you almost now need to see a model at the top that you aspire to, because that's where the rot sipped from. And then it went through to all functions of our lives, which is why I became interested in your topic, to say you are going for the core of our problem. That if we don't fix this, nothing functions. Because if we are all subservient to something, which at this point, unfortunately, is not good, right? But we're all now subservient to it. I mean, I don't want to get into the personal details of that, but I have first-hand experience, which is why I am able to say, well, to fix it and seeing how it has spread and how huge corporations fell under the banner and the dark cloud of this system that you have, right? We could have never in a million years pictured KPMG robed in all of it. Never in a million years. A huge shock. So at which point do you then want to trust that which is coming out of any sector or any office? Look, there are good people, like Linda said, there are good people that are trying to do well, but to put your head on the block, it takes a lot. You look at your family, you look at your livelihood, you look at your career. Careers have been destroyed as a function of all of this. So people look at it and say, well, I'm not going to go against so-and-so. Geez, my life will be over. Because he makes the decisions or she makes the decisions, or whoever is telling them to make the decision. So whatever we do in our little corners, which is what I was saying, even if you do as an organization submit, say, a commentary to a bill, will they take it serious? Will they implement it? even if they hear you out, it's just to rubber stamp it, to say we did have this leg of the process. It's just a mere procedural thing that we're doing, not necessarily that we're committed to it, which is what Ulinda got to say. What is leadership? Comes back to that. What is it? Are we committed to it? Do we understand the implication that it has on our own children, the very ones that we're saying we want to protect? If all of that fails, do our children have a future? I saw a little graph today from one organization. I can't quite remember the name, but it showed the statistics of a wasted child. And it covers the countries in East of Africa mainly, which are war-torn countries, which now obviously is impacting the children and the trauma that they'll grow up with if they ever stand a chance. And I looked at it and thought to myself, where is SADC going? Because now this is Eastern Africa. Most of those countries are leading the pack, if you look at it. So, okay, we're lucky enough not to be there. But if we don't fix that, will it not be our own children tomorrow that are on that graph, that have become a world statistic? We can look at it from arm's length today, knowing that we're papering over some cracks, which likely will affect our children in the future. So the decisions that we make, minuscule as they may be, have greater impact, not only on our lives, but on the lives of our children. Are we willing to lose us as a people where we've become extinct because of the actions that we subscribe to today? Do we not stand as a bulwark and say, no? You asked, you said, Linda, Udada said, what am I willing to die for?
Yeah.
Udada always used to talk about the love he had for his children. It's not that he didn't know that he had children. And he loved them the same way any parent loves his child. He didn't have a relationship with his own children. But he made sure that we can sit here today and have this conversation and benefit from that which he forfeited.
Yeah.
He never put it on us because it was his decision and we understood it. But I'm happy that, Linda, you did ask the question to say, if we are, what is the cost of my luxury today? As professionals, we need to now understand that and help our people. Utatu Mandela and his generation had careers. They could have continued and lived comfortably. But it's not like they had nothing to do. That okay, like the other guys in the street will say, oh, well, they'll fight it for us. But what if they don't have the knowledge that professionals have that can talk into the space? Because now the debates are constitutional. The debates are institutional. They've been formalized. You've been given the tools, you've been given the education as this generation to use those tools in those spaces to protect your own children and those of the ones that have not managed to move up. And that is what we as a generation and we as professionals in this tier will be looked at and said, but where were you? What did you do, mommy? They will ask.
Yeah.
Today we speak of education that is struggling. Because KwaZulu-Natal is looking at children that will miss 3 years of school, if we're to be honest. That's what they're looking at. They've had COVID, now they have schools that have been washed away. So how many years of learning is that? Are those not the wasted children that that statistic was showing? Where were you, mommy? That's what they'll ask. Might not be your child, might be someone else's child, who might decide to rob your child because they don't have. So who do you blame then? Who do we point the finger to then?
Yeah.
So that's just my contribution to your very lovely topic. Hopefully in time, we will see the light.
Yeah.
And I assure you, sometime soon, I hope. I really, really do hope. But thank you very much, everybody. Really appreciate it. Lovely, lovely, lovely session. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you, my sister. Thank you very much. You know, whenever I talk to leaders and executives, I always address the issue of the cost of leadership, the price of leadership, the perils of leadership, the dangers of leadership, because leadership is very dynamic. There's so much in leadership, and many people get into it because of excitement, but they are not aware that there's a cost in leadership. You know, once you become a leader, you're not just an ordinary person. There's a price that you'll suffer there. So sacrifices. But thank you so much. And I think let's give Madam President the chance to respond to these few comments and questions. And after you, President, will go back to Dr. Chuma. I hope Dr. Chuma Mangis is still with us. He wanted to ask a question. I know that so many people are being kicked out by load shedding, but we'll pick up Dr. Chuma Mangisa, and then he'll be followed by Dr. Bongani Nkala. Let's take you, Madam Maqoma, for now. Over to you, sis.
Thank you, Prof. You know, just listening to Umamdlovu now, it's a sombering moment, and it takes you back as a leader. Remember, leadership is almost like anything where you look at people and you think everything is okay, and it's not. The call to leadership requires that anything you are going through and the difficulties and the challenges, you put those aside because you're focused on the greater good and the purpose of what you believe you are called for. And that's what my journey has been. And, you know, just to sit and listen to the vulnerability in what has been said, and going back to the sacrifices that Tom Mandela made, they didn't have relationships with their children. One of the reasons why I left corporate was because I had a purpose that I believe I had to fulfill in terms of the transformatory work. And that's a difficult responsibility. And when you are sitting in corporate, the things you stand up for can land you in a bit of hot water, or you might not get that promotion at the rate that someone else would, or how you normally would have. And you have to ask yourself, am I willing to sacrifice standing up for this thing for me to have a more luxurious sort of life and a better paycheck? And those are the difficult conversations. And when you talk about what are you willing to die for, it's not to die a death, even a career death is the choice you must make as a leader. And when we're talking about these things and pushing back and the realities, I'm not necessarily in government, but some of my clients, I sit there and I'm like, do you realize the responsibility I have as a professional to stand up against what I'm seeing you do? And you have the audacity to continue to make it seem like professionals don't have a say in the space, but you must still stand up. And you run the risk that you lose that client. And you must be willing to say, I will resign from this engagement if that is how you will not listen. And it goes back to what we're saying, that how do we as individuals, it's not impossible as individuals to push back, because we're also thinking, what is the example we are presenting to our children? We work at home. When my daughter is around, she hears the meetings I'm in from time to time. And you actually forget that these kids absorb how you deal with things in the professional space. So we have such a big role. So thank you for that. That was just my response in terms of there's so much that we do sacrifice. and you must be willing to sacrifice it. And it's what you say, Prof, in your book about leadership. It's not about us. It's about the people who follow us, the people we are doing it for, the purpose and the ultimate purpose. We may not see the fruits of the seeds we're sowing, but our children will sit under that shade. And that must give us comfort as we continue to make the sacrifices that we do as leaders. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam President. Thanks. I see that Dr. Chuma is still with us. I hope so. So we'll take Dr. Chuma Mangisa, and then he will be followed by Dr. Bongani Kala. Dr. Mangisa, still with us? I saw him shortly, so I'm sure it's good connectivity challenge. Let's take Dr. Bongani Kala meanwhile. My leader, Dr. Ankala.
Good afternoon, Prof. and Madam President, and the colleagues. It was mind-blowing the conversation we're having tonight. I said, wow. I think we are being challenged as leaders. But for me, I can say I'm not really interested in joining the political space. However, I have a role to play in the engagement where I'm at. It's more, I think Madam President has put it, especially with this last response, how can we really hold the government to account in our own space where we are residing? Because I think it's a very clear cut that they're in for money. It's not about service delivery, but we can't sit and look at the factors being closed due to the poor service delivery. We can't sit and look the money disappearing. No one holds them to account because we're not in a political space. Is there a role that we can play as leaders, whether individual or as a collective, to challenge the status quo? Thanks, Prof.
Oh, I like that. Prof, can I jump in there because I want to link it to what Dr. Khoza actually mentioned. And I like what you said, Mam Khoza, in that we look at the little things and we nitpick at the little things and they detract us from, or we hide behind them so that we are not doing what we need to do in our own backyards. A conversation I was in just recently was around, if you look at billionaires, and you can say what you want about your Bill Gates and all of them, we are all part of the state, in my belief, but in different levels. We have the governing party and what they do in their governance, but we also are part of the state and we can do things in our own spaces. Sometimes, and maybe even the example of an Operation Dudula, in that people are taking matters into their own hands and they're showing that it can be done, but it needs the will. So when we go and you create your own project, and you're saying the government is not doing A, B, C, D for this space, and we get together as professionals and we decide we're going to put our money together and we're going to do this thing and show that it can be done. That example can catapult and it can attract investors who maybe don't want to invest in the government, but invest in individuals trying to do the right thing. So it goes back to say, we can do something, and maybe it's not going to be fighting against this government all the time. Maybe we can leave it to the advocacy organizations who will go and have those conversations, but it does not stop us from doing the simple things that these organizations can use as an example to say, well, this group was able to get together and do it without the resources that you actually should have, government. So why are you not able to do that? So it should not stop us. So thank you for that question, because it is a call to action to us to say, if we're going to wait for this government, we are not going to get anywhere. And we can't wait for this big breakthrough to happen. It's a big elephant. And like they say about an elephant, the only way you can eat it is piece by piece. And we must all do our piece as part of the state in our different levels of influence and in the little that we can do. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam President. Dr. Sifuko, I hope you can hear me now, my brother, as you see that your hand is invisible. Over to you, Dr. Sifuko.
Okay. Thanks, Prof, and thanks to everyone. I've listened to the message, and it was touching, either how we fail to assist our people, because, as government, our task is to change communities. But, there is always this tendency of, we're doing it for our children. We postpone the change while the looters are not doing it for their grandchildren, they are doing it for them now. And we fight slowly, but surely we say, we're doing it for our grandchildren and all those things. I'll give a personal experience. When I arrived here in George, one of my bosses, he was also in prison in Robben Island. He came to me, he says, Foko, people are complaining here, they say you got hard gloves. And my answer to him, I said, look, I don't want to be like you, who have been powerful 20 years, but people's lives are not changing. My job is to change their life. Whether I change 2% or 3%, it is in my lifetime. I even told him, Mr. Xhosa, like, Nandi, ngoku now, ngoku, and so, because, I want to change it today. I want to see that poor woman in the squatter camp be able to raise a finger and feed their family. So, but one of the challenges, because we're diplomatic and then we're educated, we want to talk nice. And, we'll just die talking nice and things will not change, because people are destroying the country. They do it now within a second. They transfer it now within a second. They kill SAA within a second. They kill the clinic. So I think there is contradiction. Where does the theory of contradiction that we have as leaders? But that's my submission.
Thank you. Prof, I'd like to respond to that one as well, actually.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think I agree with you in that there's a sense of urgency. But the other thing that I also bear in mind is that it is very difficult to build something. It takes time. But to break something down is so easy, can happen overnight. And I think that's the difference, or the perceived contradiction in what we are saying. And that we know how long it has taken to build some of the things that we had. And people have come and just squandered and looted for now. It is so easy to do the wrong thing, but to do the right thing does take time, but it's not impossible. And to start putting the things in place that are going to make the long sustainable change. But I still do agree with you that there are certain low-hanging things that can be changed quite quickly if there is leadership will. But we also do not want to change things that are just superficial. There's a deep rot. Someone has mentioned it in the chat, a deep rot that we are dealing with. And that is not going to change overnight. But changing things like who our leaders are, that even takes for us to rise up as people and make that vote and change something. But we're not willing to go into the streets, and we're not willing to unite in the way that we united to get us into this democracy and so-called liberation that we're in now. But we've forgotten that we still must be on the streets. We still must be standing up as a united people to correct even ourselves now that we've achieved this liberation. We must call out our leaders, and we must do it without fear or favor. And that is something that is going to require that we're all united and our individual goals become communal goals to achieve a sustainable change in what we want to see in our country. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam President. There's another, I don't know whether it's comments there from two, I hope they're two brothers, Siphiwe Mngadi. Siphiwe Mngadi versus one of ours here, so I know it's a brother. And then Tando Yenkosi Chamasu, would you like to express yourself there, gentlemen? Start with you, Babu Mngadi, and then we'll go to Tando Yenkosi. Siphiwe, are you still with us?
Oh yes, Prof. I'm still here and having much fun. Thank you very much, Prof, for the opportunity. In terms of the point that I raised in my comment, I think it's what we really have to discuss as a country, that the country is not saying, or the people that are opposed to illegal immigrants or people from other countries, foreigners or our brothers, They are not opposed to them coming to the country and working in the country. But it is the things that are happening in the country that cannot be tracked. Crime, drugs, unemployment, and so many factors, which is a failure of our government that needs to be addressed. And I think this issue must not be overlooked and label groupings like Dudula as vigilante groups, but to actually look into the deeper problem within the whole situation. Lastly, Prof, I think the first step would be that everybody present in this discussion would recruit maybe 2 young people, male and female, to coach them and mentor them about issues affecting our country, and to make sure that they are enrolled within the World Institute of Leadership and Development, so that we can actually walk the talk and actually measure the impacts, because we would have more than 60 young people who will be highly educated, highly politicized and conscientized to create other leaders. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Mngadi. Thank you so much. And Ndando Yenkosi.
Good evening, Prof. Majola, and good evening, Madam President. My name is Ndando Yenkosi Shamase, and my comments were just in short. I can go through it again. I quoted Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's remarks on his April 3rd, 1968 speech entitled, "I've Been to the Mountaintop." And he says, "I might not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land." In the context of the discussion that we're having, we as people dream of a land or a time within South Africa where the deep-rooted corruption that has entrenched our government enterprises and other organs of the state is over. Because I'm sure we all want to benefit from a society where we all see the fruits of the hard labor of the people who live in it. So my remarks were to that degree, to say that we need the fortitude that is needed by those in positions of power who take decisions which have long-term implications need to happen. Those people need to have the courage to make the right decisions. And they might not be in those positions by the time the effect comes along, but it needs to happen. And based off a conversation that happened earlier in the year with Babsiz Ngwasan, he said that leaders must be able to take difficult decisions. But I want to add on to that, leaders also need to have the foresight to identify the ramifications which should come from those decisions and be able to say, will they be able to withstand those ramifications? Because all actions have equal and opposite reactions. Thank you for the time.
Yeah, Prof, I'm so proud.
Go ahead, go ahead, President.
I am so proud. And I, looking at young leaders, especially in the accounting space, and seeing them being able to articulate something beyond the debits and the credits, and an understanding of what is happening in our country is so important for me, especially in terms of what we do as an organization. I've come from a space where you look at young people who are just focused on, there's nothing wrong being focused on books, but you must have a worldview. You must understand what you're doing and how it links to the real world. And that just hearing you speak, Ndando, and being able to articulate yourself on this platform, I know ABASA has created a very warm platform for our young leaders to speak, but for him to also come to this platform and do that is absolutely amazing. And I think that's also the step that our organizations need to take to bring young leaders, just like what the previous speaker was saying, that each one take one and mentor them so that we have this pipeline of leaders that are conscious, that whether you have your CASA designation, your RGA, your master's and whatever, you still understand the real issues of this country and how you play a role as a learned individual in this country. Well done, Dando. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you very much, Madam President. I'll ask you to give us your closing remarks now before we close. But before I do that, I've got my sister there, Dr. Pilile Mkhize. I respect her very much. She's one of the senior executives at Liberty. I don't know if Dr. Mkhize would like to give us just a few thoughts on the excellence, because people like you to be where you are, it has been through by excellence. My sister, sorry to hijack you, but just few thoughts before we close, because this topic is I mean, it's one of the my favorite topic, because I'm for competence, I'm for excellence, I'm for commitment, I'm for world-class leaders. That is why I'm coaching so many leaders to make sure that they become world-class. Dr. Mkhize, yes, my sister.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prof. Unfortunately, I'm also load-shedded. I hope everybody can hear me. So yeah, what a powerful and insightful conversation this afternoon. Thanks, Madam Speaker, and all the contributors. I think we're talking about leadership excellence. And for me, someone actually did mention it is about how we model. And I guess the people that are actually in this forum are the ones that can model how excellence in leadership is like in everything that we do, and how we engage and how we challenge and keep each other to account. And I think particularly I hear quite a lot of female leaders here, is for us to be trusting and being confident in our voices, and ensuring that we are not backing on matters that are so important. Madam Speaker also mentioned around the youth, believing in their voice. And I think, if we're able to do that, then the next generation will actually have a much better place, a much better country than what we are experiencing at the moment. Thanks, Prof.
Powerful talk. Thank you very much, my sister. Thanks a lot for your contribution. Now we'll ask our speaker to give us closing remarks and your parting shots. Then after that, I'll close the session. Over to you, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. This is really a platform, as I was preparing even to address the circle, that I believe is part of the catalyst for us to see what it is that we envision for this country. And I'm also endorsing that we bring someone else, two people, every time we bring, because the only way we are going to really drive this message around leadership, because our country cries about it every time. We're going to go to the ballot boxes again, and we're going to feel like there's no leadership. We're going to have a crisis again, and we're going to feel like we have no leadership. We do not have problem solvers in our country. We do not have leadership in our country, but we need to drive excellence. And I think in all spaces that I've kind of spoken to within the accounting profession, we really do appreciate that people require excellence even of us. A lot of the things, and when we talk about accountability, you're speaking to us, because your funds and your taxes go into the fiscus, and you want to know that it goes to the right place. We're talking about floods here, and accountants and auditors have such a big role to play. But if our excellence does not kick in, we're not going to be able to stand the test of time to make sure that the results that are produced from what we do and the work we do drive an excellence that is in favor of the public interest and the layman on the street, and someone that may not understand the debits and credits and the numbers, but we must understand that we represent something so much bigger, and that's when our excellence must kick in. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for the time.
Wow, thank you very much, Madam President. Thank you so much. As I've said, that you've really inspired us tonight. We've empowered us. That's exactly the aims and objective of this platform, that we must correct each other, we must admonish each other. we must move each other to become excellent whatever we do. So thank you so much for availing yourself, and thank you so much for empowering us tonight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, to everyone who attended. I know that it's been a challenge. Many of our members couldn't make it because of load shedding, others were in and out, but we made it. We've had everything that was said. Those who'd like to receive the recording, please do write to us admin@worldwideleadership.co.za, and then we'll forward to the copy of the recording. You can just write to admin@worldwideleadership.co.za and just request the recording. Then we'll gladly share that with you. So we meet every Wednesday, as I said. Next week we are meeting again with another powerful speaker. So please do join us. By the way, we have a Facebook page. It's called Leadership Think Tank. Please do join that page. You'll find all sorts of leaders who are there. And then also that's where we continue with our leadership discussion. You are more than welcome to post or to share any leadership material in that page. It's called Leadership Think Tank. So please do join us. Also, we are running a university called Gideon Roberts University. It's an accredited university. If you want to pursue your studies, whether at a master's level, MBA, master in leadership and management, or even PhD, we've got powerful faculty. And as I'm saying that it's an accredited university. So please do enroll with us, and we'll help you. We'll make sure that we will help you to get your PhD or your master's. I know there's so many people who want to pursue their PhDs, but they're scared. Please don't be scared. I'm sure you can see how many scholars are here, and that everyone will really help you to make sure that you'll get that instead of getting it in 5 years, even though it's a 3-year course, maybe you might even get it in 2 years if you push yourself. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. As I've said, to those who've joined us for the first time, please do join us again next week, Wednesday. We meet every Wednesdays at 6 p.m. And we discuss leadership. We eat leadership, we drink leadership, we sleep leadership. We are leaders in leadership. And thank you so much. The session is adjourned now until we meet again next week. God bless you. Thank you. Bye-bye.